Hear ye, Detroit Red Wings fans. We've got some interesting goalie updates to dive into, because there are a number of prospects in the Wings system that are doing some really good work. We've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the future, and we also have a trade update to dive into, courtesy of Max Boltman on The Athletic and Lyle Richardson from Spectors Hockey. So, what do we want to do? Do we want to start out with the trade talk, or do we want to go to the goaltender discussion? Let's do the goalies first, because this is the lead-in. Let's talk today about two guys playing for the Grand Rapids Griffins that have just been awarded a pretty big trophy in the AHL. Take a look at this. Sebastian Cossa and Michal Postava of the Griffins have earned the AHL award for lowest goals against average. It's essentially the Jennings in the AHL, the Harry Hap Holmes Memorial Award, as Postava and Cossa ended off with a team goals against average of 2.21 on the year. Let's take a look at the individual numbers. So Sebastian Cossa, 23 years old, 6'6", 209, Red Wings first-round prospect back from 2021. He posted up a .915 save percentage this season and a .233 goals against in 39 games played. 5 shutouts, 26 wins, 8 losses, and 4 overtime losses. That's a really great record for Sebastian Cossa, really improving upon last season's numbers that he was able to produce. And honestly, when you think about the progression of this guy, there were always going to be some hiccups in the road, especially when you compared Cossa to the other top goaltender taken in 2021. I don't think I need to remind all of y'all, but the second goalie out of that draft class was none other than Jesper Wallstedt, who right now is doing some incredible work for the Minnesota Wild. He was an Olympian this year for a reason, and there was a period throughout the course of this season where Wallstedt was one of the top save percentage goalies in the league. I mean, he started Game 1 for Mini against Dallas, and he got .964 as a save percentage, so he's doing pretty well. Doing pretty well at the same age range, of course. Sebastian Cossa had a few more hiccups along the way. He ended up going from the WHL straight to the ECHL, playing a year over there. A lot of Red Wings fans already knew that it was going to take a little bit more time for Cossa to get that development into a prime NHL productivity spot. But he is slowly becoming a better goaltender through the years, and I would say he's probably the backup this upcoming season for the Red Wings. Meanwhile, you have Michal Postava, who has gone out there at 24 years old with a .937 save percentage himself and a .171 goals against. Postava came over to the AHL straight out of the Czech League HC Kometa Brno last season. He had a .921 save percentage over there, was a coveted free agent. He had a .940 save percentage in the playoff run that he had with 3 shutouts. He ended up winning the championship with Kometa Brno as a result. So Postava had a really great resume. He came over to Detroit's AHL affiliate, posted up a .937, and now he and Sebastian Cossa are sharing that lowest goals against average award in the entire AHL. Just for curiosity's sake, I want to go out there and just take a look at the save percentages in the league in totality. There's another tab for it over here. Let's take a look at AHL 2025-2026 goaltenders. Yes, how wonderful is that? Michal Postava ended up with a .937 save percentage, the highest save percentage out of anybody in the AHL this season. He doesn't have the games played like a Michael DiPietro or a Carl Lindbaum, but I would say that just for being the best statistical goaltender in the AHL, there should be some awards consideration for this guy, right? Speaking of Red Wings goaltender prospects who could be up for some awards, let's take our focus over to Rudy Guimond in the Moncton Wildcats system in the QMJHL. He is another goaltender prospect that Red Wings fans should probably be aware of. He's 20 years old, 6'4", 187, and was drafted by Detroit 3 years ago in the 6th round, 169th overall. Guimond is a guy that we had documented a bunch over the past 12 months or so, because after taking his talent over to Moncton in the QMJHL, the once Cedar Rapids Rough Riders netminder who posted up an .887 in that USHL organization was able to jump up to a .940 save percentage in 16 games played. He was winning games like crazy. He had this incredible win streak that just took him to above and beyond heights. He ended up with a .916 in the playoffs as well. It was just such a great first season for Rudy Guimond in the Q. This season, though, he more than doubled the games played that he had as a starter for the Wildcats. And even though the numbers did go down a little bit, the fact is the sample size near tripled as well, so I think it's fine to see him go from a .940 to a .922. Now, guess what Guimond is doing in the playoffs for Moncton this year? He hasn't lost a game so far. 8 games played, .934 save percentage, and a .162 goals against, not to mention 1 shutout. This guy has gone out there and totally taken over the QMJHL scene as the starting goalie for the Wildcats. This is yet another name that I think Red Wings fans should be paying attention to, and he'll be heading over to Harvard and the Crimson team over there for 26-27. There are a number of years that he will have eligible as an NCAA prospect, and those same years, the Red Wings will hold his rights the entire time. So it's a really long path here for Rudy Guimond going forward, but between Cossa, between Michal Postava, not to mention Guimond, and even Trey Augustine, goaltending is a position of strength for the Detroit Red Wings long term. With that said, let's shift gears over to what was talked about by Max Bultman on The Athletic, talking about how the Detroit Red Wings must improve their 5-on-5 scoring. Seeking depth through trades and free agency is something that Steve Yzerman hasn't done enough of, and that continues to hurt the Wings. Max Bultman of The Athletic stated that the Red Wings' biggest need is their long-term plan at the number 1 center position. With team captain Dylan Larkin turning 30 this summer, and their lack of a reliable second-line center, they could be running out of time to address that issue. So, I do think it's a fair critique that Bultman has of the Red Wings right now. I mean, you take a look at their center core. Of course, long-term, you would project some of these other guys to be in that spot. Emmett Finney, top-line center, no thank you. Andrew Kopp, top 6 center, no thank you. Marco Kasper, I mean, having him on the 4th line probably isn't ideal, but you still have Danielson and Larkin as well, that, for whatever reason, are not included on this graph over here. They have Larkin listed day-to-day, I guess. For whatever reason, they have that. But Dylan Larkin is not going to be around forever. I think we are starting to realize that as the guy approaches 30 years old. He is maybe not the most suited guy to fit in with the age timeline of the DeBrincats and the Raymonds. You can say, oh, well, Alex DeBrincat is just 2 years younger than the guy. Yeah, what about Lucas Raymond? He's 6 years younger than Dylan Larkin. And with all this conversation of Cossa and Michal Postava and Augustine and Edvinsson and all these other guys that are younger, it does beg the question, do the Wings have an appropriate plan at number 1 center for the long term? Dylan Larkin ain't going to be around forever, and if he at some point gets frustrated like we had seen him get last season after Yzerman didn't make any trades at the trade deadline to improve the team, it does beg the question, what does a Red Wings team post Dylan Larkin look like, and is that something that we should start to mentally prepare for now? I'm not necessarily saying that Bultman is saying, oh, trade Larkin, but you have to think about what comes after. So with all that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Red Wings prospects going out there and winning games, winning awards, Rudy Guimond's dominance in the QMJHL? How do you feel about this trade idea that the Wings are going to have to start focusing on center duty post Dylan Larkin once that guy ends up leaving the organization? It might not be a pretty easy conversation to have, but it's one that I think is necessary to at least acknowledge, right? With that said, thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. and bye.